everyone, my name is Brittany. Welcome back to my channel, and today you're going to be watching me read the Wayward children's series for the first time.
It's Brittany, bitch.
So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to read all 7 of the current novels that are out for this series in 1 week because I'm crazy. I was given the arc for the 7th book where the drowned girls go, and I decided that I needed to read the rest of the series in order to properly review and rate this book. And it's kind of been like the push I needed to finally read this whole series. And of course, knowing myself, I had to give myself a time constraint. So I basically have from Friday evening to Friday morning to read all 7 of these novels. I don't know why I do this to myself, but at the same time, it's kind of fun. So what can I say? So actually today's Monday, and I started on Friday. And what happens is on Fridays, I literally just shut down. Like sometimes I just shut down. I didn't get any editing done. I did nothing this whole weekend. Like I honestly did nothing because I just could not. I only read and that was it. So I was very motivated to read, but otherwise I was not motivated to do much of anything else. So in all fairness to you, I have to say I already finished the first 3 novels of the 7 books in the series. We'll get to that in a sec. But if you don't know what the series is about, let me give you a really quick reminder. Basically, the series is about portal fantasy. It's about these children who find these doors to different worlds. And obviously, we have Earth as a world, and when they have to end up coming back to Earth for different reasons, they get exiled or they have to leave, and then it's like an agreement thing. They have a hard time adjusting to life on Earth, and so they end up going to the school for wayward children, where they are basically kind of like guided back into the real world, or they basically kind of just wait for their doors to reopen. And some of them do reopen and they get to go back to their world and stay there forever if they want, and others never have the door reopen. So it's just kind of a very interesting concept. And all these worlds are basically tailored to them. It's like where they belong. This whole book series is basically about acceptance, and it's very interesting. I'm not always the biggest fantasy fan, but I think this series has a really cool concept that I know C.S. Lewis would have been really jealous of, and I would know he wished he thought of that shit. So I'm gonna give you a quick review of the first 3 books that I've read. And mind you, it is Monday, so technically I'm kind of on schedule. So the first one of the series is Every Heart a Doorway. We're basically following Nancy, who introduces us to this entire world of wayward children. And she comes from her Halls of the Dead, which is her world, where she's basically a statue in pomegranate groves in an underworld. Very interesting concept. And her hair is like black and white, streaked, and she just seems like a really interesting character. And then through Nancy's eyes, we are introduced to all these different characters that we'll see in later novels. I definitely would recommend reading the first book before you read any of the other ones. I know that technically a lot of them are standalones, but I think that you need to read the first book in order to understand a lot of the other ones like better and just like kind of appreciate them more because you understand some of the backstories of some of the characters a little bit more. And then this one, there's also a murder mystery, which I really didn't enjoy. I just don't like murder mysteries, to be quite honest, in my books, and it was kind of a surprise, and it kind of felt like a little bit of a letdown. But overall, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend the series so far. Of the 3 books I've read, I think it's great. And I think just read this first one, and then you could probably pick the other ones you want to read. But at least if you get like a good footing with the first one and all the different characters that are introduced, then you can go and pick whatever one you want. The second one I read was Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is the 2nd book of the series. And unfortunately, I did not end up getting it from the library last week. It was the only fucking book, and I just didn't realize it till I got home and I was organizing the books that I realized that the 2nd book I didn't freaking have. But thank God I decided to request all these in audio like the day before I decided to do this when I got the ARC, and I was like, I need to, read all of these. So I got all the audiobooks, so I already read this on audio. This was fucking great. This was a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. This book follows Jack and Jill, which are twin sisters who are very weird and come from this world called like the Moors, where there's like vampires and werewolves, and it's very dangerous and it's dark and there's like a blood moon. It's a very interesting world, and talks a lot about like gender expression and gender roles and how their parents raised them and how they kind of like rebelled from that. It's a really interesting concept. It's kind of like a Dracula versus like a Frankenstein retelling a little bit, because one of the girls chooses to live with the vampire and one of them chooses to live with the mad scientist, and their lives ensue. And the ending to this was fucking nuts. I loved it. This book was so good. I finished it this morning on audio and I want to reread it already. It was amazing. If you read any of the books out of the series, read the first one and then read this one. It's that good. And then the 3rd one in this series that I ended up finishing today on audio as well was Beneath the Sugar Sky. And this one was a little bit of a letdown. It was honestly like a 2-star for me. I really thought I was gonna love this because it talked about like the confection world, which is like a sugary nonsense world that's kind of like a candy land. And the character in the first book, Sumi, who came from this world, I was really hoping to see more of her in this book. She's obviously mentioned a little bit. I don't want to spoil the plot of this, but basically her daughter flies out of the sky into the turtle pond at the home, and then it was like, hey, I need your guys' help. And it's basically a quest novel, and I really don't like quest novels either. I don't like murder mysteries. I don't like quests. I don't like heist novels. And watch me freaking write a book one day that is all 3. Anyway, did not love this book. I love the idea of it, but I think that the quest wasn't enough to like hold the plot of the story, and I feel like it didn't really do much. It didn't really do much for the series. It didn't really do much as a novel. I'm just kind of disappointed, especially because I was really excited decided to go to like this confection sugary world, and I was just really let down. So that's just my personal experience with it. If you love it, you love it, good for you. But I'm really looking forward to the next book. So the fourth one that I have not finished yet, I'm only like 20 pages in, is In an Absent Dream. And this basically follows Lundy, who is like she's like a teacher in the first book. And we know that she made a bad choice, and then she has to pay for that for the rest of her life. And in this book, her world is like a goblin market, and so everything like has a price. And so it's just kind of interesting, and I'm really excited to get into this one. I hope this is one of at least a good 3 or 4 star after the disappointment of the third one, for sure. So technically, I'm on schedule. If I can finish In an Absent Dream by tonight, I think I could be on a schedule. Even if I finish it like early tomorrow morning, I think I can, because these audiobooks are really short, and I end up finishing them in like 2.5 hours because I listen to it a little bit faster. I listen to it at like 1.5 to 1.75, and it's been a wonderful experience so far. So from here on out, hopefully I'll be updating you properly when I finish a book. So I'm on the 4th one right now, and then I'm hoping to be on the 5th one by tomorrow, and you know, so on and so forth, because I'd like to finish all of these, including the 7th one, which I have an arc, by Friday morning, so I can start my other challenge, which is a whole other thing. Anyway, I'm gonna get started. Tonight for dinner, I don't know what we're doing yet, but that's gonna be commencing in just a short minute, because it's taken me like how many different times to film this video, which I don't know why. Sometimes I have a hard time articulating myself, and I feel like if this didn't make any sense, I apologize, but I'm not there today. I have no idea what's going on. Don't ask me. Maybe it's all these damn Portal books. Maybe I'm not even here. So I ended up finishing In an Absent Dream today while I was at work, and I really thought I was going to get a little bit farther to the series, but that's fine. Anyway, I finished this book. It was the 4th one in the series. It was basically about Lundy and her experience in her world, which is basically kind of like a goblin market where everything is fair value. So there's no coin. Everything is done with like promises or trades, or like doing a job for somebody and then your debt is paid. Like everything costs something, like getting a toothbrush, you know, it's the same thing as in our society, but there's no money. So everything has to be traded. It honestly gave me so much anxiety reading this, especially before I went to bed last night and I had anxiety dreams, because it's so much like survival mode. And I think especially for like a millennial in debt, like this thing about debt was like, I was very triggered, and it was very difficult for me to like kind of relax while I was reading it. So this is probably one of my least favorite worlds, to be honest, because it was just so stressful. Thinking like if I was in her situation, this is just not my world. Like this is not the world for me, hun. Like it is not it. It's not my world whatsoever. But for the book, I thought the book was really good. I'm not really sure I'm going to rate it yet. I'll probably let you know at the end when I go through all the books and their ratings, but at this moment, it's looking good. Like it was a great read, but at the same time, it gave me so much anxiety, but maybe it's because it was a great book and it was written well. The only thing I didn't really enjoy was that we kind of like went back and forth between her world like a lot, which is kind of an interesting concept, that her world, like the first time you went, you could never stay because they didn't think that was fair. And like the world would take on its own debt. So like she forgot to do something before she left one time that she promised she was going to do. So she like had a repercussion of that. And I think that's a really interesting concept, that the world was like kind of built on debt like that. But it was interesting of a concept, but terrifying to have to think to live in that world for a long period of time. Like how do you like have a house? How do you even have a bed? Like she had to like find a bed and pay. It's just, it was a little stressful for me. For me, that world was a little too stressful for my personal liking. It just wasn't my world. That's the end of it. My world would not be like that. I mean, nah. Anyway, I really thought I was going to be able to at least get into Come Tumbling Down, which is the 5th one, which by the way, I just found out is basically another Jack and Jill novel. So it has the 2 twin sisters from the 1st and 2nd books. And I think it kind of like continues on in their story, which I think is cool because I really like them as characters. So I'm hoping I really enjoy the 5th one, but I'm definitely a little bit behind in what I would like to be, because I keep forgetting that for the 7th novel, I do not have the audiobook because it hasn't been released yet. Like this is a brand new novel that hasn't even been published yet. So I'm a complete fucking idiot, and I keep thinking I could just listen to the audio at work, but I can't. So I definitely need to finish Come Tumbling Down tomorrow, and maybe at least like half of like Across the Green Grass Fields or whatever, which is the 6th one, because I at least need a good like 1 or 2 full nights of like reading the 7th one in order to finish it by Friday morning. Because today is currently Tuesday. It's Tuesday right before dinner time. It's like 6 o'clock. I'm waiting for my Vietnamese food. I decided to come here early, give them a call, and then film, because I've been trying to make time for filming, but it's difficult with my work schedule right now to have the energy after work to film. So the fact that I'm talking to you, you're very lucky. So it's the next day and I'm 50% of the way into Come Tumbling Down, which that book apparently is also like a quest book. And it kind of is, but it doesn't bother me because we're basically following the whole Jack and Jill storyline again. And Sumi is here, and so is like the rest of the gang. And I feel like I'm just enjoying it so much more than the fourth one. But I think the fourth one in Absent Dream was just, I did not like the Goblin Market. It was just way too like anxiety inducing and annoying for me. So anyway, I'm definitely enjoying this one a lot more, but I'm only 50% of the way in because I did not have a chance to listen at all today at work. Like not a lick of time. I listened to it 0%. I was in meetings for over 6 hours today, like back to back to back, did not have any time in between. And yeah, it did not happen. But now I'm going to listen to it while I make mashed potatoes for dinner because we have this delicious ranch pork chops in the crock pot, and they're basically like melt in your mouth deliciousness. They're just so good. So while my brother is out running errands, I'm gonna listen to that and I'm gonna make mashed potatoes. And that's the plan. I would like to at least hope to finish this by today because I'm already behind schedule. So I gotta kind of catch up. Good morning, it's Thursday and I got a new like little tripod thing so I can put it on my desk. I did end up finishing this book. I did end up finishing it last night, which is to be expected. I mean, they're still like, they're really short books. They're really not that long. This one was 200 pages, like it's not that long. And I finished it. I'm really proud of myself. So it's currently 11:06 a.m. and I start work at 7. So I've already been at work for 4 hours and I haven't had a chance to listen to the 6th one at all. I haven't had a chance. I have been incredibly busy. And I think there's just some days at work I can listen to stuff and other days I really can't. And this might be one of those can't days because my inbox has not stopped. All morning, I've already had like 4 different phone calls. I only had like 2 meetings this morning and they're already out of the way, which is great. But it just never stops coming. I don't think I gave you my thoughts on this. Anyway, so Come Tumbling Down was basically another fucking quest book, which I don't really like. I don't really like quest books. It was a quest to help basically Jack out of Jack and Jill. That I really like their story, and I really like the Moors, which is the world that's their world. I really enjoy that world. I think it's probably my favorite. But I really don't like quest books. And I feel like this book was more about like friendship and like OCD and acceptance and like all these other things, like, which is great. And definitely I think these books in general are more character focused than plot focused, but like I really wish there was more plot sometimes, even though I know it's pretty short books. Like I really like a little more plot. And I really don't like quests that much. And I liked this and I think it was good, but it was more like heartwarming and like getting the gang back together than like a new story. I don't know, I'm gonna give it yet. We'll see. I'm kind of like at the end where I'm like reading so many times. Like I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm getting kind of burnt out on this series because I've obviously been reading the same series for almost a week now, and I'm just kind of getting a little burnt out. And I don't really know how else to explain it, but I'm just a little bit done right now. And I think that's also why I've been putting off listening to the books, is I just kind of want to listen to something else. But I have to finish this today to stay like on track. And then I somehow have to finish the 7th book all tonight / tomorrow morning. But I definitely prefer to like finish it tonight because I obviously have stuff I'd like to start tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna get hopefully a lot of reading done today, and we'll just see, because work has been insane. Like I literally just got like 3 emails while I was talking to you and it's been like 2 seconds. So anyway, it's already been a really long day and I would like to go to bed immediately. So I'll hit you up hopefully later. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. Okay, I just got off of work. I finished Across the Green Grass Fields. I really don't know how I feel about this book. Honestly, I feel like this book kind of made me feel nothing. At least like the 3rd book, I kind of disliked it so much I was like angry because I was really expecting something good. And with this one, I just kind of went with like normal expectations, and I'm still like disappointed. Like I just feel like this book kind of dragged for being so short. Like I was kind of like bored and like I wondered why certain things were, I didn't feel attached. Like it was just kind of boring and it kind of dragged and it was a little too like leisurely for my taste. And I feel like the world building was a little bit lacking too. Like I actually really liked the idea of this world, but it just wasn't executed in a way that I enjoyed. If I didn't tell you, and I probably didn't, this book follows Reagan, who is not in any of the other books, which is why I think this one kind of failed in a way. Like there's zero connection to Reagan. We find out that Reagan is intersex and that's why she's kind of being bullied, and she finds a store to this place called the Hooflands, and she's like a big equestrian, and it made sense. But like the fact that we didn't know Reagan already, and then this whole story is about her, and like most of it is in her land, which like I do prefer. For like these books, I prefer when they stay in one land for a good amount of time so we kind of know what's going on. But like I feel like I really didn't even know what was going on in this world, and I feel like the ending was so lackluster and like anticlimactic, and I just kind of like wonder why this was here. And at least I would have liked it if she was like brought into another book and then she had her own story, because it's just kind of weird that she has her own story and like we don't know anything about her. I really don't know what else to say. I don't know if I'm gonna rate it yet because I feel like in a lot of ways it was easier to read because I didn't like hate it and I wasn't mad at it, but also like the fact that I didn't feel anything is almost more concerning. There's a lot of factors here, but the fact is no one knows Reagan. I don't know why we have a book about her. I'm looking forward to the 7th book. Where the Drowned Girls Go, the only problem I have with it is I have to finish it tonight. Tonight, I have to finish that entire book, which really shouldn't be that long, but the fact is I've really been enjoying listening to these on audio. So the fact that I have to read this on my Kindle and I don't have audio for it is like a little annoying because I really like the audio of this, because I've really been enjoying playing Candy Crush or my little like, you know, coloring book thing on my phone while I've been listening. And I think that's why I've enjoyed this experience, because I just love being able to do that with a good audiobook that's easy to follow. We'll see, but Where the Drowned Girls Go, I think kind of deals with like the not like the mean school or like the bad school, but I think it deals with like the bad school in Maine, and I'm really excited to hear that story. I think this one's hopefully gonna be a really good one. I think it's probably gonna at least be better than the 6th one, obviously. I'm trying not to judge too harshly. So I finished Where the Drowned Girls Go, and I'm gonna give this a 4.25 stars. And I actually really enjoyed this. This is the 7th installment in the series, obviously, and we're basically taken to Whitethorn Institute, which is like the bad one where they're forced to forget about their doors and forget about the worlds that they explore, and they're forced to try to live in the real world. So even if the kids don't want to be there, they're a lot of times forced there by their parents to try to cope with their new reality. So it's kind of the complete opposite of Eleanor West, A Home for Children. Very different. So in this book, Cora is suffering from her trials and tribulations in the 5th novel, Come Tumbling Down. She's really suffering, and she's having a hard time with the trauma from that, and she decides that she wants to go to Whitethorn Institute and try to forget about her life. And she also thinks it'll help save her from the voices from like the down below, like the monsters that came after her and Come Tumbling Down. She thinks that going to this institute is going to help her get over that and help her become a little bit safer. And along the way, Reagan is in this novel. So Reagan from Across the Green Grass Fields, she is in this novel, which I think is a really lovely little Easter egg, but I kind of wish that this book was the 6th book in the series and we were introduced to Reagan before we got her backstory, because I just didn't really care about her backstory because I didn't know her. And now that I know Reagan, then I would have been a little more invested in the story. And Reagan was a really lovely part of this novel, and she was in most of the novel. I think this is a really great installment, and it's kind of like Every Heart a Doorway, but for like the Whitethorn Institute. And I think that's why it was so successful, though, is to introduce some characters we already know and introduce a lot of new characters that could have new worlds and new stories for the rest of the 3 subsequent books that are going to be in the series, because it's going to be 10 overall. And I think they gave us a lot of great options for that. And I think that's also something that it was really successful in. But it was also entertaining the whole time. Like, I think this is the ones I actually enjoyed the most. And it's also a number 2 on my ranking. I'll get to my ranking in a minute, but this is the 2nd best novel out of the series, in my personal opinion. This also has like dark academia vibes and like controlling boarding school vibes. So if you're really looking for like dark academia, it actually really gave me that feeling. I think, again, it'd be a really great book for fall. I know it's not going to be released till next year, but maybe save it till fall 2022, because I think you're really going to enjoy the dark academia vibes. I just have to say, I'm just so glad this wasn't another freaking quest novella, because I hate the quest ones. I don't know why they bother me so much. I think it's because I feel like they have such like a lack of plot other than the quest. But now let's get into the ratings of the entire 7 books we have in the series. And the number 1 spot is Down Among the Sticks and Bones. In this novel, we are following Jack and Jill. We're following these twins, and they both make very different choices in their world, which is called the Moors. And the Moors, by the way, I think is one of my favorite worlds we're visiting. I think it may be also in the number 1 spot, which is probably why that one's ranked so high. But this novel is fantastic, and I know that's why Jack and Jill are kind of, I would say, character favorites among most people. And then the number 2 spot, we have Where the Drowned Girls Go. And I think this was an excellent installment. This is the 7th novel in this series, and I absolutely loved it. I loved going to this dark academia vibes at the Whitethorn Institute, following completely different characters. Even though Cora isn't really my favorite, the fat phobia thing I think is also a little hard for me being a fat girl, but I really enjoyed this novel overall, and that one got 4.2 stars. 4.25 stars from me. And then in the 3rd place, we have In an Absent Dream, which is Lundy's backstory. This is a prequel to the 1st novel, and this is the 4th novel in the series. In an Absent Dream gets 4 stars from me, and then we're following Lundy in her world in the Goblin Market, where everything has a price. And that one I think was an excellent installment for the series as well. Again, I think a lot of times the backstories usually do great. In fourth place, we have Every Heart a Doorway, and this is the first novel of the entire series. It's what started this whole bad boy, and I think it's a great installment. I gave it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it until we got to like this murder mystery at the end, which obviously comes into play later, but it just felt really thrown into the novel at the end, and I really didn't enjoy that. But I also enjoyed our main character, Nancy, whose world is the Halls of the Dead. And I think that was just really interesting to kind of explore. And in fifth place, we have Come Tumbling Down, which is a quest novel involving Jack and Jill from Down Among the Sticks and Bones and Every Heart a Doorway. So we are dealing with that, and we basically need to help Jack with something on this quest. And it's kind of like a retelling of the first novel, but with a little bit of a quest. So it gets 3.25 stars out of me, and it's in fifth place. In sixth place is Beneath the Sugar Sky, and in this one, Sumi from the first novel, her daughter comes to Eleanor West's Wayward home for children, asking for help to help find something in her world, which is confection. So confection is like the Candyland world, and you know, that's a wonderful world to be in, but it wasn't really done very well. And again, it's another quest novel, and I really just did not feel this quest novel at all. It got pretty boring after the first half, in my personal opinion. And then in last place, we have Across the Green Grass Fields, and this is Reagan's backstory. So we meet Reagan actually in the 7th novel. But this is the 6th novel in the series, and we just meet Reagan and find out that she is intersex, and she has this world called the Hooflands. And it is very interesting. You know, I like the idea of the world, but I just feel like the world building wasn't done well enough for me. Maybe there wasn't enough stakes. It wasn't a really good plot twist at the end. You weren't really attached to Reagan because you didn't meet her really, at all until the 7th novel, which came after. So you weren't really introduced to her enough to care, in my personal opinion. As a reminder, the 7th book, Where the Drowned Girls Go, is publishing January 4th, 2022. So I would definitely recommend that you go out and pre-order this. I think it's definitely one of the best books in the series. It obviously got a number 2 rating from me. I would highly recommend it. I would recommend the entire series, period. And I really do think after reading it in order, I feel like reading it in order, you'll get the most out of it. But I almost feel like you should read the 7th book before the 6th book if you have a choice, if you have an option, because I feel like you might be a little more invested in the 6th novel because we weren't introduced to Reagan, I feel like, properly until the 7th novel. So those are just my opinions. I think this was very successful, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. It definitely took a lot of my mental energy, but they're really short, and I feel like if you just want to listen to a good audiobook, I mean, I would definitely listen to some of these just like if I have some spare time and I wanted to re-listen to it, I definitely would. So I'd highly recommend this series, and let me know how you feel about it down below, and let me know your favorite book out of the series. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.